Joining me now, Republican Nebraska Senator Deb Fischer. Senator, thank you so much for joining us, number one.
Oh, my pleasure.
Number two, you've had a full weekend to chew over the halt to the immigration ban. Have you changed your position on this, or do you still feel like this was the right order for him to make?
You know, when we look at our national security, we have to make sure we know who's coming into this country. And as a member of the Armed Services Committee, I am fully aware of the chaotic situations that we have around this world. I called for a pause earlier on Syrian refugees so we can make sure that that proper vetting can take place. When you have a country that you really don't have a central government governing the entire country, when people don't have the papers necessary to even go through a vetting, we have to make sure that we can get the information about these refugees, have them go through the process, and then open our doors to the refugees who need to come here.
How do you feel about the president calling the judge in Seattle a so-called judge and really going after the court's decision to stay this ban and claiming that if anything does happen in this country, that Americans should blame the courts?
Well, you know, I believe the man's a judge. He was nominated, he was confirmed, he's a federal judge.
And he was confirmed, he was nominated by George W. Bush.
Yes, you know, but judges are judges. They aren't so-called judges. There are judges. We have three co-equal branches of government. I don't agree with everything that the courts do. Americans don't agree with everything that the courts do, but I show respect and for that branch of government, and we'll see how it all shakes out here in the future.
Have you reached out to the administration to ask them to respect the judicial system as well?
I have not. I don't know if that's really my place to do it.
Well,
I'm busy working here in the United States Senate. I'm here in the United States Senate working for Nebraskans and trying to get work done that will benefit the people of this country. You know, I'm focused in my committee assignments. Like I said, I'm on Armed Services Committee. I chair the subcommittee on Strategic Forces, which is a vital committee, especially in this day and age when we need to make sure that our nuclear deterrence is safe and it's secure and it's effective. And those are the issues that I'm going to continue to work on: national security and economic security for our families.
Let's talk a little bit more about another topic, which is education, and Betsy DeVos' confirmation, which is coming up. Do you believe that she is the right person for education secretary? And secondly, do you understand where maybe your colleagues in the Republican Party, Murkowski and Senator Collins of Maine, maybe don't think that she is?
Well, I've had conversations with Mrs. DeVos. I've read through the transcript, and I asked her for assurances that she would support our public schools, that she would support local control. You know, I'm a former 20-year school board member in the state of Nebraska, and in Nebraska we value local control, local decision making. We have great public schools. We understand the importance of meeting the needs of children in those local districts and meeting those needs through the interaction of parents and teachers, school board members, and communities. So I was assured and reassured by Mrs. DeVos that she is not looking at any kind of federal mandate that would take away that local control that we so value in Nebraska, and I'm sure all across this country. And I look forward to working with her on implementing the Every Student Succeeds Act that we passed in 2015. I was one of 85 senators, bipartisan, that voted to pass that. And in that, I was able to get an amendment passed that again emphasized the importance of local control. And I want to have a Department of Education here at the federal level that steps back, doesn't mandate on our states and our local communities and our local school boards. And I believe that Mrs. DeVos has given me those assurances. She understands the importance of that, and I look forward to working with her.
Senator, the junior senator in your state, Senator Ben Sasse, came out pretty strongly over the weekend condemning Donald Trump's assertion that we are just as bad as Russia, when he said that, you know, America does bad and terrible things too, when Bill O'Reilly asked him if Vladimir Putin was a killer. What is your sense of why this president is going above and beyond, bending over backwards, if you will, to stand stay away from criticizing the Russian president and to almost give him an excuse. As we know, there's since 2000 been a couple dozen suspicious deaths of journalists in Russia who came out against the government there. Donald Trump has made no secret about going after journalists and his distaste for any news that doesn't agree with him here. Do you find that this is a dangerous path he is heading down?
I know that Putin is a thug and he runs a gas station, and the prices are low right now. And so he is going to continue to be belligerent. He is going to continue to be aggressive. I've led Codels to Eastern Europe. I led a Codel to Estonia, the Czech Republic, and Romania. And we have a very full understanding of who Vladimir Putin is, and he is not a friend of the United States. It's up to President Trump to establish relationships with foreign leaders, but also to recognize them for who they are. And I believe that President Trump will recognize, or does recognize right now, who Putin is, and he will develop that relationship, and he will know how to confront him.
Very quickly, what makes you say that he does recognize who Putin is when he hasn't said so publicly?
Well, I think when you're at the beginning of administration, you really don't want to go out and start attacking people that you're going to have to work with.
You know, when I came to the United States,
well, when I came to the United States Senate, I told Nebraskans I was going to work across the aisle. You know, I'm going to work with Republicans, I'm going to work with Democrats. We have differing opinions on many things, but we have to work together, and I'm not going to attack them in public. We're going to try to get together. I think it's important that we show that we can work together. We can be respectful, we can be civil, and the American people need to see that. So I am hopeful that President Trump will have very firm, very harsh, if need be, conversations with Putin to let him know that here in the United States we understand who he is. We understand what we view as his agenda in trying to reestablish some kind of empire for himself, and that we will not allow that to happen. Our allies need to hear that, and I think here in the Senate, many of us have been very, very forthright in making sure that our allies understand that we are there for them against Putin.
We will see if they are convinced by that. Senator Deb Fischer, Republican of Nebraska, thank you so much for joining me.